What I would like to draw your attention to, still sort of within the broad rubric of looking at Musk's acquisition of Twitter and how that may play out and how it may affect you personally. I was myself struck with, I think the tweet that you were banned for was sort of like commenting on Elliot Page. How do we prioritize compassion, kindness, love? And can't this basic palette of principles prevent us from getting into conflict around these ideas?
Well, it isn't obvious to me that love can be reduced to compassion at all, because for a variety of reasons. First of all, I think love is a multidimensional virtue, and there's many other virtues than compassion. Think about it this way, Russell. Imagine that the purest expression of compassion is the love of a mother for a true infant. We could really think about that as true compassion, 100% compassion. And the reason for that is that if you have an infant from birth to, say, 6 months old, nothing the infant does is ever to be questioned. The proper response to the infant is, whatever the cause of their distress, you immediately prioritize its reduction. But then as the child starts to develop, and as soon as it becomes capable of its own voluntary movement, as soon as it becomes ambulatory, its nervous system starts to change, of course. But then there are other elements that have to be introduced into the relationship to make it a relationship of proper love. And some of that's judgment, which is often considered antithetical to compassion. And some of it's encouragement. And encouragement has a fair bit of judgment in it, because when you're encouraging someone, you're not exactly being compassionate for who they are. You're doing what you can to facilitate who they could be. And what you're doing constantly when you're encouraging someone is prioritizing who they could be over who they are. And that's an element of judgment. And that judgment, you might say, if you're not thinking about it precisely from the religious perspective, is your own ability to decide which parts of you should go. Then the question is, are you compassionate for who you are, or are you compassionate for who you could be? And the second is just as important, or maybe more important.
And when that's applied to the self, I can see that the requirement for this judgment, the great success you've had in, clean your room, stand up straight, these kind of edicts offered to young men or young people who require discipline, I can see the success of that. But Jordan, I feel that when it becomes an outward strike of like, this person should not have done this thing, this is the impact these actions will have on the culture, this will lead to this kind of denigration, this will lead to decisions that are, in my view, palpably wrong. I feel that this is where we have to redress an imbalance around compassion. I feel that Elliot Page should be able to do whatever Elliot Page wants to do, and that my only role is to say, I recognize that I don't understand, and why would I understand? There are less obvious things that you could never understand about me. They're less evident and obvious, and for me, the basic principle of kindness and compassion is going to be my guide when dealing with Elliot Page and when posting something about Elliot Page. I do have recourse to the idea of, what do I want Elliot Page to feel? Happy, accepted. That's what I want Elliot Page to feel. And if there are aspects of that I don't understand, then I'm willing to take the hit.
Stop it there, and welcome to Mika Reaction Reviews. We're reacting to things on the internet, and this is actually part 2 of the video that I reacted to with Russel Brand and Jordan Peterson. The first one was, I think, titled Anonymous Demonic Trolls or something like that. I actually did already record and edit the second half, and then I accidentally deleted it, but I really still wanted to get this video up, so I'm just reacting to it, and it's been like a couple weeks ago, so I am going to be picking up some new things. The title of this entire video was actually Russel Brand and Jordan Peterson gets in a heated debate. So right now, Russel Brand and Jordan Peterson is talking about, I think one of the reasons why Jordan Peterson was initially banned from Twitter is because he named Elliot Page, right? Elliot Page, right? Him. The actor who transitioned into a male, and Jordan Peterson directly responded to Elliot Page, or at least retweeted Elliot Page, sort of talking about their lived experience as a trans man, and kind of said something along the lines as this is sort of detrimental or toxic or harmful to the millions of fans that they have, and that might decide to go down the same road as Elliot Page, which might be a mistake for them. So I initially addressed that when it first came out, and just like the sort of plus size swimsuit model cover that Dr. Jordan Peterson also commented on, saying something like, "This is not beautiful," but he was more or less saying that promoting fat as healthy isn't what's beautiful, not necessarily the individual. But for both Elliot Page and the plus size swimsuit model situation, or the retweets, I did say that maybe it was unnecessarily to directly respond to them or retweet them directly. Dr. Jordan Peterson could have easily addressed the situation without directly pinpointing or pointing fingers at an individual. Right? Dr. Jordan Peterson has a large fan base. You can send hate their way, whatever. However, I understood why Jordan Peterson did what he did. I understood why he said what he said. And for the most part, I agreed with him. Now, I understand where Russell Brand is coming from. However, I have the same issue with Russell Brand when he kind of went off on Candace Owens, basically saying that Candace Owens saying that people should be accountable or responsible for themselves, that she believes in the human spirit or the individual ability to lift themselves up by the bootstraps, that she believes that people can be the authors of their own lives and take control over their own lives and create the lives that they want. Somehow that was unsympathetic. Maybe it's because of the way Candace Owens was saying it or delivering it, but somehow that was unsympathetic.
It's a tiny minority of people that are like you, that come from a poor background and manage to overcome it. And this is what's a problem I've noticed with a lot of great people, is they sort of believe that their greatness is something that can be replicated, and I don't think it can.
I see. So I believe in the individual, you don't. That's our fundamental differences.
So I kind of want to live within systems that encourage collective and communal values. That instead
theft. We're talking about theft.
No, we're not talking about
demanding
theft.
that people give up their stuff is theft. But it sounds pretty when you say encourage, incentives. No, when the government comes and demands that I give to someone else, that's theft.
I'm not espousing the values of big government. I'm just asking if in politics, both personally and collectively, there's room for a little more compassion and love. And whilst I agree with your that there is something easy to fetishize about individual achievements, in your own case or wherever we see greatness, we can't take that example of the ability of the individual to overcome adversity to condemn people that haven't been able to. Like, where is there a role then for compassion and kindness? I'm not saying let's create a big government and take away
not in politics. So my thing is that the conversation should be completely separate. Americans give $500 billion in charity every single year. It's the truest the economic model of letting people find success because they're willing to work hard. If you don't want to work hard, you shouldn't be rewarded. I don't believe in that. I don't believe, well, what about the person who doesn't have your drive?
Why should economic systems govern the way that we live our lives? Why is there not room for people to be different? Why is it that a person's value and worth should be distilled into
That's called the natural market. You can't make that go away.
That's not called the natural market.
Yes, it is. You can't make that go away. No matter what, tell me in the history of the world where there hasn't been some give and some take. You can't make that go away. There's no magic wand that you can wave that's going to make human incentives and what happens in humanity go away. Doesn't matter how rich or how poor society is. There's going to be give, there's going to be take. People are going to create natural markets.
I have an issue with Russell Brand trying to sort of almost monopolize what compassion is supposed to look like. Love, like he said, is multi-dimensional, is veritable. Love doesn't always have to look the same. There's a such thing as tough love. You know what I mean? When you have an addict in the family, constantly coddling them and enabling them is actually pushing them towards the grave. But cutting them off and almost being uncompassionate to their cries and their pleas or the begs for demand or help is what sometimes needs to happen so that addict hits rock bottom, right? There's another example that Jordan Peterson gave. I can't really find the clip, but it was like when he was talking about misplaced or inappropriate compassion. Like if you have like a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old where they're and you're trying to teach them how to tie their shoes. But every time they try to tie their shoes, they get frustrated, they cry, they throw a tantrum. And so you just run in because now you just feel so bad that they're crying, and you just tie their shoes for them. And you keep doing that. Eventually they're 10 years old and they don't know how to tie their shoes. So is it really compassionate that you crippled this child from having the ability to tie their shoes because you didn't want to let them fall or cry or learn from their lessons? Or is the compassionate thing is to step back, let them cry, let them go through their frustration, let them throw them tantrums, reiterate and teach them how to tie their shoes, but let them do it on their own so they're self-sufficient. There's different ways to be compassionate, and there's different ways to be loving. And I have an issue with Russel Brand feeling like if it's not my form of compassion, then it's not compassion, right? And so anyway, I'm gonna let Russel Brand and Dr. Jordan Peterson continue the conversation, but I do have more to say. But let's get back into it.
I'm willing to take the hit.
When you think about your behavior on your YouTube channel, you're spending a lot of time in public criticism, and going after large corporations, going after those who are engaged in fascist collusion, and I think rightly so. I think that you're an extremely useful voice in that regard, and you're a critical voice, and you're a critical comedic voice, which is a good kind of critical voice and not exactly compassionate, right? Because you're also using creativity on the humor side to make your point, and you're doing it in a playful way. And I think that playful criticism is the hallmark of the master critic. And I think the Joker and the Jester in that regard are master critics. But that's not compassion, right? That's a different virtue. And often it's very, very pointed. You do act as a social critic in many, many ways, and you do leaven it with comedy, and I think that's extraordinarily appropriate. It's part of what's given you such a broad voice, and that criticism is absolutely necessary. Now, let's speak about Elliot Page more specifically. So the first thing I'd like to bring up is the fact that in the UK, the Tavistock Clinic was recently closed, and that was the biggest clinic doing gender transformation surgery that operated in the British world. 1,000 of the 19,000 kids have now launched a lawsuit for medical malpractice. And when Elliot Page went online and showed off his or her new chest, she or he got 1.7 million Instagram likes. So then the question is, okay, compassion. Well, I think Elliot Page stepped over the line from victim to perpetrator, because when girls hit puberty, their negative emotion spikes and they develop bodily image problems. Because neurotic, and that would be negative emotional experience for women, is extremely tightly tied to body image. And so if you're a girl who is undergoing the hormonal changes that are going to elevate your negative emotion, which is what happens at puberty, you're going to be focused on body image. And if you're an unpopular girl and you're awkward socially, the probability that you're going to think something's wrong with your body is almost 100% if you're female.
So I can see what makes you angry about it. It's your analysis and it's your opinion that it's a powerful influencer and it's going to lead people to make decisions that are going to be detrimental to their lives. But the evident and palpable anger, I feel, diminishes your position because now anger is in the conversation.
Stopping it there. Okay, a few things. First of all, I feel like this thing that Russel Brand said in the beginning, that Elliot Page should be able to do whatever she wants, and it's true. Elliot Page should be able to do whatever she wants as long as she's not objectively hurting other people. However, I feel like if Russel Brand would feel the same way if Elliot Page was talking about her drug binge. If Elliot Page was saying like, oh my God, today I did a line of cocaine, I smoked some crack, I shot some heroin, and it was amazing. Anybody who says these hard drugs are bad for you, they're lying. This is the best thing that ever happened to me. If Russel Brand would still be like, I don't know if criticizing that person is the appropriate thing and the compassionate thing to do, even though they're promoting drug use to their millions of fans. Now, celebrities are not responsible for anybody else, and celebrities are definitely not responsible for other people's kids. But as the public, as the people that have helped promote them, helped make them millionaires, I feel like we have a right to have an opinion about how they're using their power, their platform, and their influence. So I think Russell Brand is not very close to the subject matter, and I would be really surprised if Russell Brand even attempted to discuss this in a neutral way or seeing both sides, because I think that he won't know how to talk about this or criticize what's going on with children without coming off like he's not compassionate or whatever. This is a subject matter that Dr. Jordan Peterson is very, very close to. Just like Russell Brand is critical of big pharma, of the government, of politicians, of corrupt corporations, those are still people. Those are still individuals. I don't see Russell Brand talking about how amazing they are and we should just let them do whatever they want. He's criticizing them and he's judging their behavior because he is more educated about the nuances of the of the negative effects that they have on society, right? He's close to it. He's not really close to the nuance of what's going on with kids and the whole like trending thing, right? I think that if you feel like children are being abused and if you feel like someone is helping usher the abuse of children in, the appropriate response would be anger because they're kids. And so I don't think Dr. Jordan Peterson's response or emotion towards what's going on with children is inappropriate. However, I agree when you approach a debate emotionally fueled, even if it's anger or sadness, it does diminish your argument, and anybody who wants to criticize you will pick apart anything they can find to criticize you with. So even if you're making a good point, but you're really angry, people will just use that to dismiss anything you said. And Dr. Jordan Peterson has already come out and said before in another conversation that he has been criticized by people who he respects that said, I think you came off too angry, and he's admitted himself that I probably did come off too angry, but I completely and utterly understand where the anger is coming from. And again, if someone's like, I see children being abused and they're like being comical and laughing about it, I would think that emotional response was inappropriate. These are children, he feels that's being abused, and he felt like Elliot Page was helping usher in that abuse of children. Again, it's not their responsibility to protect everyone's kids or protect everyone, but it's still our public right to criticize someone that we think is using their influence inappropriately. But anyway, let's continue.
I think you offer a great deal that is valuable and necessary, but I feel beyond the value and necessity of honesty, authenticity, and information that is underwritten by data and experience, I feel that it creates more opposition to approach a matter like this in the manner that you have done. What are we going to anchor ourselves to ultimately, Jordan, navigating this space? Are we going to be participants in creating more and more ossified and oppositional camps? Or are we going to create cartilage between us so that we can move between a room that Jordan Peterson is in and a room that Elliot Page is in and say, look, I believe in love, and I know it's complicated. I think you're beautiful and full of love. I really believe in that. And then when I sort of hear people being dismissive of you, it upsets me. It upsets me, and I see how you arm them. I feel that you arm them by sort of, in their language, dead naming Elliot Page. And I feel like why would you do that? It isn't necessary. It isn't necessary. Of course, it's the statistics you've cited about the Tavistock Clinic appear to speak for themselves. Is there a way that we can handle this that would be more akin to how we might imagine Christ would handle it? Otherwise, what's the point of Christianity? What's the point of Christianity if we're not going to embody Christ in our behavior?
Look, everybody who's operating in the online space that we're operating is trying to get the tone right? And you do that in part by paying attention to the audience. And you do that by trying to see how people are responding, and not in a way that's pandering, but in a way that's open and attentive. And it's a very difficult thing to get right. So the question you're asking is, well, when is anger appropriate? When is it not appropriate? When is it only inflammatory? That's a really hard question to answer, to get that balance between judgment and encouraging acceptance right. I suppose part of the problem is we don't know exactly how emotions scale in an online environment, right? And definitely I found that even when I'm delivering very cutting material, as I just wrote an article for The Telegraph on the upcoming privation that Europe is going to be facing and the rest of the world in the winter. And I tried to read it as calmly as I possibly could, even though it's extremely cutting. And the calm delivery seems to alienate fewer people and bring people in more than an angry delivery without any shift in semantic content. The right principle is probably something like minimal necessary force in your personal interactions and minimal necessary emotion in your online behavior. But it's hard to know exactly what that means. And it's not as if I think I've done it perfectly. I mean, you move like this towards that central line that hopefully is moving uphill.
What entire
Stopping it there. Okay, again, I understand where Russel Brand is coming from. You can catch more bees with honey than vinegar. I get it. However, let's not act like Dr. Jordan Peterson is like unsuccessful in helping people or bringing people together or bringing the people to the conversation or gaining attention in an appropriate way. Dr. Jordan Peterson has been credited of helping hundreds, if not thousands of people. He's doing something right. Not everybody is for everybody. There are people that when Dr. Jordan Peterson speak, they will speak to him. And then those people may not be able to relate to Russel Brand. And then the comedic genius that is Russel Brand, the way he speaks, there will be people out there that he speaks to, and those people may not necessarily be able to relate to Dr. Jordan Peterson. No, we don't all have to be the same. And again, it's not like Dr. Jordan Peterson is this raging monster that's been banging on walls and punching people in the face, and he has alienated everybody there is. Like, he has a huge base. He has a huge base of especially young men and women who he have spoken off the ledge of rage and anger and going down the wrong path in life. His books, his philosophy, his speeches, his public speaking engagements has garnered so much positive attention. So sort of to act like he doesn't know what he's doing, and Russel Brand somehow needs to mentor Dr. Jordan Peterson on how to bring people together. It's like they're two different people, and they have two different speaking styles, and they have two different types of talents of how to get a message across. And yes, sometimes Jordan Peterson unnecessarily gives people ammo to attack him, but let's be honest, those people are going to attack him anyway. And yeah, you can say don't give them unnecessary ammo to do so, but I just feel like, Jordan Peterson doesn't have to walk on tightropes or eggshells and make sure he's not hurting other people's feelings, or if he's not coming off compassionate enough. I think he has a good balance. I think he appropriately displays a anger type of emotion when it is appropriate to be angry. And if you think children are being abused, I think anger is the appropriate emotion. The only thing I will say is that he may need to pull back on singling out people. He can get his point across without singling out private individuals. Elliot Page is not really private, he's a public figure, but you get my point. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think of this. Do you agree with Russel Brand, or do you agree with Dr. Jordan Peterson? Do you think Dr. Jordan Peterson's sometimes too angry in his approach, or do you think he has a balanced way of handling things, or do you prefer Russel Brand's approach to things when it's a bit more comedic, lighthearted, but he is still going after the people that he thinks needs to be called out? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below, and links to all of the eternal platforms I'm on, my minds.com, my Odyssey, my Rumble account, my Twitter, and all the other links to all the other YouTube channels I have is usually in the description box below, sometimes in the comment section. And if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle. I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go to the description box below, and also in the comment section, hit the link, go subscribe to my travel vlog channel, and or follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date, and you guys have an amazing day. Bye.